fascinating rivalry, isn't it? And it's because of the history between them, the big matches they played on all the big stages. Difference in personalities for sure, difference in style of play. It's a sort of match where most people watching pick one or the other, so make your choice and enjoy it with us. Dominic Dale returns, and as I say, Dom, regardless of all that, Mark Selby could do with a point from this.
Well, he could, yes. He's lost narrowly earlier on to Mark Williams 3-2. He's struggling a little bit, just with that little extra edge of confidence that every player requires, and that could help restore some for Mark Selby. An excellent opening red, but he did feel he was unlikely to leave Ronnie O'Sullivan in, so there wasn't too much pressure on it really. But this is a different shot. Attacking shot going into the pack of reds, but again he didn't really play it with a lot of conviction. Almost as though he was just trying not to miss the black really, but he may just be on this red. Oh dear.
Yeah, he was on it, but he hasn't potted it. And with one thing's for sure, Selby is not intimidated by O'Sullivan, but that doesn't mean he'll beat him. Ronnie O'Sullivan's played really well today. He's had 3 centuries. Won his first 2 matches, both 3-0, and then 3-1 over Carter earlier this evening on table 2. So, you know, he's playing well here. And he's certainly sharper than the last time he played Selby. That was in the Scottish Open final. He got to the final, which tells you something, but he was outplayed. He lost 9-3. Oh, terrific black. Doesn't get any easier though.
Thanks.
No, funnily enough, the long red to the yellow pocket's actually easier than the cut back to the left centre here. The difference being though, the cut back to left centre is far less of a risk.
Ronnie O'Sullivan. Thanks.
Well, it's safe. That's the main thing, I suppose. Didn't really play for position on the black there, did he? I was having a chat with Ronnie just before he came out to play this match, and you can always tell when Ronnie's in a good place in life. He's always happiest when he's taking the mickey out of you and talking and sharing a joke, and that's what he's like here. Today he's been like that ever since I saw him this morning, and it's good to see. That's why he's playing some of his best snooker, I feel.
Yeah, it's a relaxing environment here. Just the people working on the event, you know, the players and the officials and production team. So he's safely in this bubble. He can just sort of keep himself to himself if he wants to. I think like all players, he's looking for sharpness, he's looking for match play as we head in towards the World Championship, which is only 2 months away. He'll be defending the title, of course. Beat Mark Selby, didn't he, in an absolute epic, different style of match to this one. This is best of 5. That was over 4 sessions, over 3 days. It came down to a decider.
Yes, a match I remember well. I did my little stint of 12 days, commentary and etc. for Eurosport, and I was at home with a friend of mine sharing a bottle of wine watching that semi-final. It's a tremendous match in the end, and Ronnie found 3 frames from nowhere really to go from 16-14 down to being victorious 17-16. He played 3 frames that we hadn't seen much of a sign of in the rest of the match, and that's just the capability of this man, and he carried it through, of course, with a comfortable victory in the final over Kyan Wilson.
Yeah, it was a significant win, I think, for O'Sullivan, as he tries to get him behind the black here, because Selby had beaten him in the final in 2014 from a long way behind, and ever since then O'Sullivan hadn't challenged at all at the Crucible, hadn't even been to the one table since then, until this year. He sort of exercised the ghosts of Selby in the semis and, as you say, won the final easily. So that's all in the background with these two, the rivalry and all everything that's gone on before, and that's what makes it such an interesting match.
myself and Mark Selby, Mark Williams were having a few shots with each other's cues on the practice table earlier on, and Mark Selby was knocking in the most tremendous long reds, screwing all the way back to bulk for fun. He was cueing so well, but it's a different thing when you're playing a match. When you've been struggling in a few of the matches that you've played, and you're playing fellow top professionals, no one better of course than Ronnie O'Sullivan, when you know that just the merest mistake can cost you a frame. Now Mark can take this red on into the right corner, can stun across for the black in the same pocket. If he wobbles a red, well, he's a long way off, wasn't he? But no obvious harm done.
Well, they've both had a couple of half chances already, but this is maybe just settling in for the long haul in this frame. Sullivan's had 3 centuries today. Selby's actually had 2, even though he's not won a match. 2 matches he lost were in deciders, so he has got frames on the board, which can obviously work in your favour, because after points it goes on frames won in the table.
It's an awkward frame this now. It's too dangerous to play a safety shot into bulk with that red near the left centre pocket. I don't think Ronnie necessarily would like a re-rack here, but depending on the shots these players play, it could end up being one. Ronnie will try to just develop a few reds from the pack if he can without risking leaving one on, because he's definitely keen to avoid the re-rack, Ronnie. He does like to get on with things.
Is this going over the pocket? Chance then for the rocket. Oh, hold on. Oh, keyboard just dropped in. And immediately the chance passes to Selby to the opposite middle.
Yes, I think Ronnie knew that the pace he played the red at was sufficient enough for the keyboard to go in. I just didn't think that Ronnie expected to pop the red so cleanly, the keyboard to have the angle to go into the pocket. But I'm sure Ronnie will expect it to cost him a good few points now.
6.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the defeat that he inflicted on Selby, but Selby's bounced back from that very well. There wasn't much of a gap from the end of the season to the new one, only a few weeks. He immediately came out, won the first tournament, the European Masters, beat O'Sullivan to win the Scottish Open, very nearly won the shootout on Sunday, lost in the final to Ryan Day, so put in a few semi-finals as well along the way, and he's had a very good season. You'd have to say really only Judd Trump has done better this season.
he's got a nice
Right.
angle on the red here, just to drop it in, leave an angle on the colour to develop the pack of reds. But he'll need to be careful here because there are two reds just to the left of the pink that, well, I wouldn't say they're set for a plant into this left corner, but you still need to be careful. Something can go in. Ooh, well, there you see a red nearly did, but it's finished all right. He's on a red to the right centre.
25.
A chance to continue the break.
Yeah, and a chance just to show O'Sullivan how well he's playing also. Of course, Selby got to the final of the previous group, Group 4. Lost out to Judd Trump last night.
26.
Ah, looks like safety now then. Got himself 30 in front.
Bravo. Black Selby. 26.
Yes, played a good safety there, Mark, but I'm a little surprised he didn't prefer the red to right centre, although I have to say, the red over the right corner didn't look as though it went. Ronnie tried to pop that red. It was a shot to nothing, but could have finished worse.
Selby lining himself up for this. Could be potentially a frame winner. But equally, if you miss it, it could be a frame loser.
Yeah, and it was clear to see they hit at the cue ball there. That wasn't a stroke, it was a hit. And that was just a little bit of mental anxiety that caused that to happen, and it could be very costly.
Yeah, make no mistake, they want to beat each other, these two, and that just puts a little edge maybe on the match. If you are just tuning in, maybe you haven't been with us all day and maybe not sure how all this works, it's a league format this, so it's not knockout. It's a 7-man group. They're playing to get in the top 4 tomorrow, so the top 4 tomorrow will contest the semi-finals.
6.
They each play each other over best of 5s, and then it does become knockout in the semis.
7.
And the eventual winner of the final goes into the winners group. We have 7 winners of the winners group, so we've already got Graham Dott, Zhou Yulong, John Higgins and Judd Trump, and those 7 will play the same format in April to decide the winner of the tournament. The players get £100 a frame and other rewards as well along the way. The eventual winner gets £10,000 plus entry to the Champion of Champions.
50.
Well, that may not have worked out too bad for Ronnie, because if he can play for the red that's near the brown spot, he could leave himself an angle on it to bring the tricky red into play. Oh, he's mistimed this completely. He's landed in the middle of the table here. Red still on into the right hand corner pocket, and he can get on the black from it, but the pot is intrinsically quite tricky. Reverse side, wasn't any on it to create a better angle and increase the pace of the cue ball off the cushion to be on his intended
25.
red, the one that's near the brown spot there. He's back in the frame now, just 5 points adrift.
Royal Silver. 25.
Selby snookered on 2 of the remaining reds. Or can he just get... Yes, well, he may consider the cross double here, but it's dangerous, this shot. It always is. Yeah, if you catch that bottom jaw, you can easily leave the red on, but he's okay. I wasn't sure whether the red would pass the black, but clearly it did. Excellent pot this from Mark Selby. You can just see it missed that black by a fraction. Let's have a nice angle on the green to play for the red nearest the pink spot. He has overplayed it slightly. He wanted to be able to stun for the black, but can't now.
4. 5.
Obviously too straight on the blue. Getting to this remaining red from the green isn't straightforward as Mark would like it to be. Again, just didn't go through the shot quite enough there. He's short on this red, and this is missable.
8.
Now, will he take?
Like Selby 8.
Well, at least it's come away from the pocket, so 13 points in a rather edgy opening frame. It's felt a little bit more like a deciding frame than a first frame. But of course, this is a very short match. O'Sullivan having a good look to see how much of the red he's covered.
Ronnie has a good chance here to play telling safety.
Well, caught the blue, so not as telling as it could have been. Came out of the blocks. First match of the day with a century in the opening frame against Joe Perry, O'Sullivan.
Ronnie can't quite cut the red in into the left centre, but once again has a chance to play decent safety, but it's not going to be too easy to get both cue ball and object ball safe here.
got him. And that was really one of the cornerstones of his victory over Selby. I know O'Sullivan played a few maybe strange shots towards the end, but overall during the match his patience and his resilience were key to sticking in with Selby in that semi-final as Mark Selby delightfully reaches the red. He was 13-9 up. People talk about the last session, but he was 13-9 up with 2 frames to play in the penultimate session, Selby. And O'Sullivan was clearly not enjoying it, and you know, even a couple of years ago that would have been 15-9, probably game over, but he dug in, he won those 2 frames and he won the match.
I may have heard Ronnie sarcastically exclaim, "Good shot there." Of course it wasn't, but it's safe. That's the main thing. Ronnie was always concerned that he couldn't avoid cannoning the red into other balls, and that's what's happened. He's left it on. Can Mark Selby get on a colour here?
Wow. That could be fatal. Seemed to rocket into that yellow pocket, didn't it? Well, as I say, it feels like a decider. There's all sorts happening here. It's only frame 1. It was a chance there for sure for O'Sullivan to capitalise on the in-off.
Yes, because that in-off meant that Ronnie wouldn't have needed the black. So even though the pink's tight on the bulk cushion, that's a real chance for him, and Mark's overscrewed this. Bit of adrenaline. He's screwing back for fun on the practice tables, and he's done the same thing there.
That's the thing, though, when these two play, it's not fun, is it? For them, it's a battle that they both desperately want to win, and this first frame is just illustrating that. We don't have that many real big rivalries. We have interesting matchups, but in terms of the backstory and all the stuff that's happened, this is probably number 1 now in the game. O'Sullivan-Selby. There's a lot of friendly rivalries, but this one, I'm not saying it's unfriendly, but put it this way, neither lacks motivation.
That was a nicely controlled shot from Ronnie. What Mark Selby won't want to do, if you can avoid it, is give Ronnie the opportunity to develop the pink. Risky to try to do too much of this. You could easily leave a pot on the green if you don't play it absolutely perfectly. Well, he's avoided the cannon on the blue. That was the risky part of the shot. And it's an excellent outcome.
Well, I think all bets are off right now as to what's going to happen, but it is another chance.
Well, this is the key shot, isn't it? Getting the right side of the blue to be able to advance a cue ball up for the pink, but Ronnie, with brown, blue and pink, would be 7 points ahead on the black, so would need the black.
Could be a respot yet.
7.
Well, he simply can't get onto the pink from here. It's just impossible. He just needs to leave himself as close to it as he can to not make the safety shot difficult.
Just while he looks at this, it's 1-1 between Karen Wilson and Mark Williams. That's the last match of the day on table 2. Williams has 2 points, Wilson 1 so far.
Well, he's got some angle to work with. Oh dear.
Foul. And a miss.
Wow. Where's this cue ball going to finish?
Ronnie O'Sullivan 12. Mark Selby 6.
Well, of course, the difference is Selby will only need the pink now.
From that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's much harder from here because the cue ball's in the middle of the table now, so not so much angle to work with. Again, key thing here, keep the pink safe. It's not bad. I'm not saying Ronnie will be happy with that, but I don't think Mark Selby will risk taking this pink on, because he can play a very good safety from here if he wishes.
What a fascinating first frame. Still in the balance. O'Sullivan needs pink and black, Selby just the pink. Double kiss. Wow. So as I say, Selby just needs the pink. An eventful start to an always interesting match-up in snooker. Ronnie O'Sullivan and Mark Selby. Mark Selby pots the pink and prevails after quite a battle in frame 1. If that's a sign of things to come, this is going to be quite a... see what frame 2 has in store for us.
I think there has to be a lot more pressure on Mark Selby in this final group match of the day here on table 1, because of his position in the group and the way he's played to date, having lost both of his other matches. Whereas Ronnie, well, as you say, Dave, that's only the second frame he's lost all day, so he's a massive favourite, obviously, to take his place in tomorrow evening's semi-final stages, so there's very little pressure on Ronnie. Too thickly, and well, he's definitely left a red on into the right centre, but he's covered the one to right corner. Impossible for Ronnie to leave himself nicely on a colour from the red to right centre, but he can leave himself quite nicely on the blue at least. Well, does the pink go? Does the pink go into the left corner? Well, appears that it does.
Seven. Eight.
It goes without saying, of course, that O'Sullivan would prefer a much cleaner frame to the one we just saw. He scored well today, 3 centuries in the 3 matches he's played. Hasn't played in the Championship League in this format for 5 years. He played last summer when it was a 64-man event, but in the traditional Championship League format, 2016 his last appearance. And I think it's significant that he's here. He's trying to keep pace, I think, with the other top players, the likes of Selby and Trump and Robertson, Kyron Wilson, Mark Allen, these guys who have won tournaments this season. And you only do that by playing. And that's competitive play. Didn't enter the German Masters or the shootout, so
20.
we've not seen him since he lost to John Higgins in the Masters last month.
22.
Yeah, what a tremendous match that was. With Ronnie and John Higgins. John Higgins playing the best match I've seen from him. Well, for many a year. I think he said so himself that he can't play any better than he did in his match with Ronnie.
29.
Emerged victorious by 6 frames to 3.
It was a wonderful match, and
30.
I think it came along at just the right time. You know, with the January lockdown, a lot of people understandably sort of feeling a little bit fed up of things, but if you're a snooker fan, that's just a magical meeting, isn't it? The fact they're playing each other and the fact they produce that standard of snooker together. It's terrific viewing.
38.
Higgins, of course, already in the winners group of this Championship League. Well, this is starting to look like a much swifter frame than the first one.
44.
Just didn't run through that red as much as he anticipated. So Walker queuing now. It shouldn't be difficult, this black. Hasn't proved to be. Still think Mark Selby is just struggling for his absolute A game, whereas Ronnie,
56.
he seems very settled and largely imperturbable, really.
Yeah, I mean, Selby not only played, of course, the last group, but played the shootout as well, which, okay, they're only 10-minute matches, but it's quite sort of intense in those times when you're playing. O'Sullivan is coming in fresh today. And he's looking very good now, not only to level up, but possibly to make a really high break. The highest break so far, 141, Ali Carter. There is a £500 prize for each group. Whether Ronnie's aware of that, I don't know. In any case, he can't beat it now, because he could only make 140 now he's taking a blue, so Ali's money is safe for now.
66. $73. 74.
Don't know if the 2 reds by the pink will pot anywhere. Ronnie could play cannon here into them and has done. He expected there to be on the red to the left centre.
79. 80.
So can he make his 4th century of the day? I know there'll be so many people watching who play snooker to sort of club standard, maybe have never made a century, who marvel at the way Ronnie O'Sullivan goes about it, the speed, the accuracy and the panache with which he makes these centuries.
$91.
A lot of people feel that Judd Trump eventually will overtake him, but he needs Ronnie O'Sullivan to stop playing at some point, doesn't he? Because clearly he can still rack them up with the best of them. And this has taken no time at all.
99.
Brilliant stuff.
100. $105. Yeah, it's yours, yeah. $107.
So it was a very edgy first frame, which Selby eventually won on the pink. This has been much more one-sided once O'Sullivan got in. He's kept it going well.
110.
Career century 1083. He's 22nd this season, 4th of the day. He means business here. He's not come here for a bash up. He's come to play the sort of snooker that has won him titles in the past, and he hopes will winning titles in the future.
125.
Black for the total clearance. It's not going to drop, but 125 will do very nicely. A dashing effort that. Remember, this is best of 5, one each between Ronnie O'Sullivan and Mark Selby.
Notice is Ronnie O'Sullivan's break-off shots. He's very good at avoiding leaving the long red off from the break-off, as so many players do these days. Seen Mark Williams radically adjust his break-off shot in order to not leave a pot on for his opponent. In fact, he told me about a couple of hours ago near one of the practice tables, he said, "I'm never going to leave my opponent a pot on from the break-off again, Don." Play a safety shot like this from the pack of reds, you've always got to study them just to see if there's a chance of a ball dropping near a corner pocket somewhere. just such a beautiful ball strike there from Ronnie. That's why the cue ball has found its intended spot on the baulk cushion. Ooh, so nearly a flute. Now where's this cue ball going? Looks as though it's going to find the pocket.
Oh.
Now, has he done any damage? He has, in a way. The red second left of the black can be cut in as a shot to nothing. It's just such a beautiful strike of the cue ball from Ronnie. He's so reliable. That's why he doesn't miss pots that often by a long way. Now, can he get onto the red that's nearest to the black? That's the one he'd like to target if he can. That would offer him the opportunity to be right amongst the balls and be on the black. Get that into play.
You just sense that he sees it all immediately, don't you? He's sort of almost sort of computer-like brain, the way he sees the shot, sees the position on the table, sees what he has to do.
Absolutely, Dave. Is a natural, instinctive break builder, Ronnie. He spots the balls, the key balls to knock in and develop positions, such as this one here. Crossing that red by the black, has developed the black, and now it makes break building just so much easier.
Yeah, the danger for Selby is he could be away again. He's just had a near total clearance, just missed the last ball. Bearing in mind, Selby won what, you know, looked like quite a crunch first frame. I know it was only frame one, but the way he won it, that could have deflated O'Sullivan, but there was no sign of that in the last frame.
Position that cue ball to perfection, because in potting this he should be able to nudge out at least one red from that little cluster. Only nudged them a fraction, but there is one now that we're potting to the left corner. It all helps.
Okay, Karen Wilson has won the third frame against Mark Williams, so 2-1 to Wilson on table 2. That's live on the Matchroom Live streaming platform.
Not entirely happy with that, Ronnie, but he could play a little cannon into that quartet of reds below the pink here. He'll expect to develop them well, although the bottom one, just saw in that camera angle there, would pot, and he's on it. And now he should be able to bring everything into play.
Yeah, as you say, and now looking a certainty to make it 2-1.
60.
Break goes to 60. There's still 83 on, so again, there's a chance for a really big break here.
61.
Ronnie O'Sullivan really does epitomise
67.
the essence of great break building by not making the cue ball travel unnecessarily long distances, thereby cutting out the opportunity for error.
Well, my feeling is he's starting to look dangerous again.
75.
First half of the season, he wasn't that keen necessarily on practicing. It was very close to the World Championship. He put all the effort in to win the World Championship. He didn't want to be going back practicing, you know, 4 or 5 hours a day again every day. And he said that himself. But things have changed, I think, in the new year. And as we head in towards this year's World Championship, where, remember, Ronnie O'Sullivan is looking to equal Stephen Hendry's modern-day record of 7 titles. 2 months out from there, he's starting to look good again. He's starting to look committed, determined, sharp. And it'd be very interesting now to see the tournaments leading into the Crucible, how he fares. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he didn't win 1 or 2 of them.
And another thing worth mentioning with Ronnie, he's got this fitness regime going again, and he's super fit these days. He's doing a lot of running, and he's looking very, very lithe and agile. And that could only make you feel good and give you a great deal of self-esteem.
Yeah, I think the two go together, don't you? He feels good and helps him with his snooker. I mean, he got to 2 finals in the first half of the season when he wasn't necessarily putting the hours in, so that tells you that, you know, if he starts improving, he'll be a real handful. Anyway, he's won this frame. It's just a question now of whether he makes this 2nd successive century. There's a lot of sort of sighing and so on. He's not playing the shots necessarily perfectly for him, but for the rest of us, it's great viewing. Maybe not for Mark Selby. So this black then for back-to-back centuries, and this for his 5th century of the day.
$103. 104.
Well, it wriggled in somehow, that bread. Possible 137 on.
$110.
So once again, Ali Carter's high break is safe for now. He made a 141 earlier today.
$112. $150. $190.
Well, it's become a bit of a masterclass. A 124 to follow the 125. And Ronnie O'Sullivan, he just sat out 2 centuries. Can't afford to give O'Sullivan a chance, it would seem, at the moment. But Mark Selby, as we know, will not have given this up yet.
Cannon on the brown has given Mark Selby a half chance at this red to right corner. I say a half chance because when you're 2-1 down, facing Ronnie O'Sullivan, who's just knocked in 2 century breaks against you, these reds can look decidedly awkward. Yeah, Wasn't surprised to see him miss that. But it could have finished a lot worse. There is a red available along the top cushion, but it's far from easy. The red below the blue will certainly cut into the right hand centre as well. Perhaps that's an easier shot for Ronnie. Just wondering whether we've seen the last shot this evening from Mark Selby's cue. Brilliant first red from Ronnie. He's just made 2 centuries. He'll be keen to make a third.
8. No.
That's the thing. I mean, and it speaks for itself because he's world champion, but there's no obvious signs of decline in his game. You know, he's 45 now. When he was coming into the game, a 45-year-old would be going down the rankings. So you do wonder, and Dominic mentioned his fitness as well, his physical fitness. You do wonder, you know, how long he can keep going at the top.
The most difficult thing to do when you've been a professional for nearly 30 years, as Ronnie has, is to keep practicing with the same fresh zest and enthusiasm for the sport that you had when you were much younger. In the end, all the routines you do are more something you do to maintain a certain form rather than to try and improve year upon year. And in the end, you can end up just going through the motions and
24.
fall out of love with practice a little.
25.
Well, certainly looking very ominous now. After that epic first frame. Barely seen Selby since then, since he potted that pink.
39.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, Dave. Now, I'd be thinking of going into the pack of reds with that red near the right centre, but Ronnie won't here because he's too straight on the blue. I don't think he intended to go into the pack of reds, but it's always handy when you know you're guaranteed
44.
to have a saviour. In this case, the red near the right centre for Ronnie.
45.
Ronnie will have to play the pink here. He can jab it in with the rest. I don't... Well, if he can pot the pink, I think he will, but I don't know what use this blue is to him. He's barely the right side of it. Well, does the red pass the pink? It must do. too straight on the black, so he can't go into the pack of reds. He'll have to play for a difficult one to right centre or right corner. The leftmost red would also pot into the yellow pocket.
And it's basically going to be match ball. Put him 67 up with 67 on, colour to follow though.
66.
And in it goes. And he's nicely on the black, so this is for victory. And what a victory! It could be with 3 centuries.
74.
Mark Selby won a very lengthy opening frame. Ronnie O'Sullivan just brushed that off. He's come here, I think, in a very determined mood to get his head down, play good match snooker, get himself sharp, and it's worked. Because he may well make his 6th century of today alone. And we're going to see him for sure tomorrow in the playoffs.
82.
Yes, when I watch Ronnie like this, I'm just reminded of a conversation I had some years ago with John Virgo, where he was just suggesting that how lovely it would be to be able to play with the freedom that Ronnie has in his game.
90.
I think a lot of people watching would agree with that, Dom. But it's great to watch, and I know a lot of O'Sullivan fans out there will be eagerly tuning in tomorrow to see if he can win this group, put himself into the final winners group. It looks like
98.
3 successive centuries. Talk about winning in style.
19.
And still, no one does it as stylishly as this man. There it is then, the 3rd century in a row to clinch victory. And Mark Selby won what looked like it could be quite a psychologically significant opening frame, but since then he's been basically a spectator. A front row seat at an exhibition of break building from Ronnie O'Sullivan.
150.
By the way, stay with us because we're going to go after this to the decider on table 2, so a little bit of bonus coverage coming your way. Karen Wilson and Mark Williams.
127.
125, 124,
133.
and to finish 140. A total clearance from Ronnie O'Sullivan. What a brilliant display.